Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly. Look in my eyes, don't let it fall on me. Say you're a good guy, make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it, I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, feels so nice. We time, you I know how to make me feel right. I can't help how that this sweet talk. I'm already on my way. I'm pulling up, don't be late. I'm cutting through all the lanes. Sweet talk. You need to say less to me. No need for no flowers, babe. I'm already on my way, on my way. Why you blushing? Yeah, sweet concussion. Oh, you miss my touching. Good girl. Show me something. Give me more than one thing. I need more than less than I do. Say you're a good guy, make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it, I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, it feels so nice. I can't help how that this sweet talk. I'm already on my way. I'm pulling up, don't be late. I'm cutting through all the lanes. Sweet talk. You need to say less to me. No need for no flowers, babe. I'm already on my way, on my way. We've been dancing all night long, right here with you way too long. Don't want nothing here or now, but I'm done waiting, done wasting my time. That the sweet talk. I'm already on my way. I'm pulling up, don't be late. I'm cutting through all the lanes. Sweet talk. You need to say less to me. No need for no flowers, babe. I'm already on my way, on my way. Sweet talk, sweet
Hello everybody and welcome to our Badass University All-Stars League stage. I am Jerry the Music Man. I'm joined by the wonderful Cairo and we have 2 games for you today. Count them, 2. We have our first, which will be the mighty average players only versus Combat Wombats, and then Aces versus Imperium of Mandem. A lot of mid-table scrapping to get our teeth stuck into, Cairo.
Yep, definitely. It is going to be a banger, Jerry. These teams obviously trying to get themselves into the upper bracket so they get that kind of second life scenario when they do go into the playoffs for those LAN spots. We've been talking quite a lot about LAN, what's going to happen. But, but first we need to confirm the teams that are even going to be in their playoff spots. But first of all, obviously, we do have APO and Combat Wombats. So, Jerry, I mean, talk us through those teams.
I will do exactly that, as you are so nicely. Also, the eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed that my light disappeared like the moment before we were set to come on. It was hilarious. It literally died seconds before we were on screen. But it's all fixed now, so I'm nice and vibrant. We have our teams here, and the asterisk that we have to place here is that the stats are slightly incorrect. They may be slightly old, but we still wanted to bring up these names. So you can see here, on the side of APO, Bjonk, Nati, Swanee, Call Me Dicta, and Magpie. This is the side that are currently sitting 6th, so our lowest seeded team so far this season that we will see in action today. And Combat Wombats in 4th. Only 2 points ahead of them, mind, so it is still certainly all to play for those tasty playoff spots that you've got on that side. Kovac, Weiwei, Jaffa, JMXC, and Inoob. And as you can see with our healthy little icons on the left, we've got a fair amount of cross-uni representation here and sort of rivalry potential.
Yep, they certainly have, obviously, Warwick. I mean, within kind of esports, Warwick have got a massive kind of hold on that scene, so it makes sense there's a few representatives from that. And, well, Jerry, I mean, this is the thing. If this game can get finished in regulation, if we can see one team take 3 and the other go 0, it is absolutely huge for the standings. I mean, Call Me Dicta, she's just so... I always talk about Call Me Dicta because of Combat Wombats, sorry, but the fact that Combat Wombats could potentially be leapfrogging towards that top of the table, put some pressure up towards there, because I mean, especially when we look towards this, if I look towards the table and
it's pretty spicy. It is. You've got Combat Wombats on 13 and the top 2, Alpha and Sleepy Gang, both of whom we're not seeing today in action, are on 16, so they could be joining them. The only issue being that they have lost against both of those teams, so it would only be on points. They would be tied first but sorted into 3rd effectively by that head-to-head. But at this point, the head-to-heads don't matter a ton because there's still a chance for people to gain points, lose points. Sleepy Gang have a really nice run ahead of them because they face not only Rank Monkeys but also Delta Bad Hand, the 2 lowest ranked sides so far. So they are definitely my favourites to finish top and gain that automatic LAN spot. They don't have to go through the arduous task of playoffs at the end of the season if they hold onto that first seed, which is currently occupied by Team Alpha, who interestingly enough have Sleepy Gang's number when it comes to the head-to-head, because it was the one game that Sleepy Gang forfeited this season. So it could be really close, and head-to-heads do matter when we reach the end, but right now it's all about the points. And Combat Wombats, average players only, they're going to want all 3.
Yep, without a doubt. I mean, this is the thing, though. We look towards Combat Wombats. They had a massive run in the lower bracket last season. This time, obviously, they'll be thinking to themselves, if they got that chance in the upper bracket, then who knows what could have happened. Because, I mean, I think they only lost out to IOM, and which was probably one of the most thrilling best of 3s. And you remember, if we call back, Jeremy and you were kind of doing a lot of casting during that playoff run. I mean, I think that was the only best of 3 that actually went to 3 maps.
Yeah, there were a lot of 2-0s in that final playoffs of the last season. And yeah, Combat Wombats, they did have that crazy run. But of course, the teams have been sort of jiggled around a little bit this season, as is per the standard over here at Boole. But let's stop talking about last season and start talking about the here and the now. We have a map ban phase ready for you, everybody. So, Clubhouse and Villa, the auto bans, of course, both of these sides, having played these last week, and now we can move on to what's actually been going on. What have we got here? So, Bank and Chalet both gone. Fairly open, possibly more attacker-favoured maps already out of the picture. So, looks like we may get a sort of leaning towards the more bread-and-butter staples. Wouldn't be surprised to see an Oregon at the end of it. Lo and behold, we do, in fact, have Oregon as our chosen battlefield. Combat Wombats picked effectively.
Yep, certainly. It doesn't surprise me we're heading up here, Jerry. I mean, we look towards that kind of semi-final spot in the Mexico Major. Oregon was an absolute banger, where probably FaZe and Damwon probably match. I was going to say match of the year potentially?
Easily.
Question mark.
Absolutely easily. That was one of my favourite pieces of Siege I've ever watched, and my heart goes out to Damwon here because it was honestly just so heartbreaking. But Souls, I mean, he's just built on, out of different stuff, as they say.
Infinite, and I was going to say infinite overtime. That's all we need. Infinite overtime in semi-finals.
That would be really nice. I mean, we got it in the final. We did get it in the final, but in the semi-finals would be nice. We don't have infinite OT here though. At least not until later down the line. So, what do we think about Oregon then? These two sides on Oregon. I'm going to do a little bit of sweeping through Wikipedia and see how they fare, how they've been doing on this map, because undoubtedly they would have gone here before. But when you think about Oregon, what do you think of most, Kyra?
Boring. Sitting with about.
I'm expecting you to fill. So
Sorry, I was
positive and entertaining.
No, but that's technically entertaining. That's technically entertaining. Sorry, but like when I think of Oregon, it comes down to the basics. Let's be honest here, Jerry. You sit here, you've got breaching, you've got droning, you've got clearing the map. When you think of everything in Siege when it comes to fundamentals, you go to Oregon, you go to Clubhouse. Well, obviously we can't go to the German map, so no, we go to NA, where everyone, well, I mean, not really much of a region anymore, but not talking about that. The thing is, so...
I mean...
Yeah.
It's true. It's
like the former APAC.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I've made the call. I've made the ballsy Twitter prediction.
Okay.
That at SI 2022, we are going to see 3 of the final 8 teams be APAC. Now, that may be pushing it a stretch. 2 is probably a more sensible thing. But, you've got to push the boat out when you're trying to farm impressions, right? It's 3 out of 8, I think. Damwon Kira up there. Chiefs could be in there. Fnatic if they get their act together, and Sandbox, I reckon, like, come SI 2022 they'll have a load of new stuff ready. So
I mean, I don't hold much hope for South APAC, to be honest. I don't mean that disrespectfully.
It
just
is
not had I was just going to say, they don't have much international experience, but when you look towards North APAC, you see like how the Koreans are doing, how the Japanese are doing, in terms of the Japanese up and coming, obviously, but the Koreans most importantly in terms of Sandbox and Damwon. I mean, those teams are just a different monster when it comes into that LAN environment. And I just don't think other teams can keep up. Maybe, obviously, LATAM, because they were able to kind of knock out those teams, but apart from that, I mean, I don't know. I don't see EU and NA doing well. I think it will be towards the other side of the globe where we'll see teams do well.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. I'm going to push us on to our current situation then. We've had a lot of SI discussion. I mean, we all just want to get it out, right? No. We just had the Sweden Major. It's been exciting time. But what do we think about predictions for this league, right? Who do we think is coming out on top? I've already sort of staked my claim as Sleepy Gang. I think, given their remaining fixtures, they definitely have an easier run than most.
Yeah.
They, depending on whether Delta Bad Hands decide to give them a run for their money or not, Ranked Monkeys could continue their form of continuous forfeits, which has been about 5 in a row now. Not great. Not a great look, by the way, Ranked Monkeys. Not a big fan, but I reckon that Sleepy Gang, they have 6 points in the bag for the next few weeks. So they're my prediction for top. What do you say?
I mean, Aces do play IOM today. If they win, they go top by 2 points, and if they can ride the wave to the end of the season, then that'll be them. But there's a big tall order here. I think once we get to the end of the play day, I'll make my decision. But right now, I've got my eyes on Aces. But
they've
we should
also
have
they've got Alpha. They've got Alpha in the final week as well. That's massive. Like Aces Alpha, very start of the final week. You don't want to miss that. But we have a ban phase, don't we, Kyra?
Yeah, I was about to say I was going to try and segue, but I mean it was a very good
Yeah,
point.
sorry, I just had to interrupt you instead. Like that was
that's
more
fine.
important.
That's fine. Don't worry. My heart's broken.
Well,
Alexa,
don't worry,
play
I'll do
Sunshine
it.
on Lease.
I'll break your heart several times at least tonight, so get used to it.
I mean, imagine Siege will probably do the same. As we are
True.
on Oregon, we are seeing pretty much standard bans here. I mean, there's nothing really kind of flashing to me straight away. This seems to be the kind of meta bans all in all here, Jerry. Maybe a Wamai, maybe something like that would be cheeky, but no, everything is pretty standard as we head into our first operator picks.
Yeah, and notable operators let through. You've got the Mirror, certainly available, especially on that basement. You've got Maverick to make a lot of those pushes way easier. Apologies if you're getting a little bit of a weird feed going on right now, but I'm sure that'll be fixed in due course as we have a look at these opening picks. So you were talking about Call Me Dicta before this game started a little bit, Kyra. Yeah. Is there anyone else on this roster, or anyone on either roster, that you're expecting to really show up today, or anyone that should be expected to show up today if their team is going to come out on top?
Bionk is probably who I'm looking at else on kind of Combat Wombats, but if I look towards APO, GMXC, big player, played with him on, what do you call it, all the way back on Coconut Cracked, which is nearly, I think, a year if we get past the new year, which is crazy. But yep, that's a kind of massive one. GMXC for me, and Weiwei as well, which we haven't really spoke about. He played really well on the Combat Wombats last season, so maybe a little bit of a grudge match here when we're coming into Oregon.
Potentially, we did also have that Warwick University sort of interplay between the two sides. You've got a couple of players on either side facing off against each other from said university. So, that could also, add to the drama a little bit. We're going to start with this Mirror on the basement, and we did say that this is a likelihood, one going inside of Mirror Closet, and it's going on the right-hand side. Now, this is an interesting sort of little discussion, but this has tended to be the sort of preferred side for the most part when it comes to holding this. It does mean that you're slightly more exposed if you decide to kind of rotate in and out, but the idea being that you shouldn't really be in a weakened position, exposing yourself to that wall if you have the mirror window in play. Anyway, no one's going to be hanging around inside of Laundry itself to try and catch you on the cross. And if they are, then they are really exposing themselves to the power of that mirror window. So they better hope they have some intel to back it up. And speaking of intel, we're seeing the Buck of iNoob toss out a drone and start doing some work, trying to hunt down Nati. He's solo on this side of the map, whereas most of the push, it seems, is coming from Big Tower.
Yep, certainly. It seems as if they're just taking their time, trying to kind of see if they can close out any roamers. Maybe I thought Jeff was going to come in through Attic and there was going to be a pinch motion, but nobody has actually droned out Natty yet, which could be a bit worrying here, Jerry. I mean, if he continues to persist in that position, I mean, we could see potentially a full push. I mean, completely dismantled in one play.
Absolutely could happen, and Anu appears to have kind of skipped under that step, and he has got that double pocket hard breach in tow, and you notice the absence of a Hibana on this lineup, despite the fact that Kaid is gone. They're deciding, you know what, we've got the Maverick, we've got the Ace, we've got the Buck to deal with the two most relevant hatches, and they will have to pick and choose about those. But then, of course, the Maverick can finish the job, or even the Ace, if he really needs to. The main thing is that they are bringing him for a bit of soft destruction to help on that roam clear as well, but it doesn't seem as though it's been well utilized. As you can see, Inup, he does have some knowledge that there's a player lurking, but does he expect him to the left? Nati just sort of rounding the corner. The flash does come out in support, but finally makes the shots count. Kovac, though, in the meantime, takes out Dicta around the site, and that's a smoke dealt with. A huge pick for the attack, but Bionk at least gets the refrag as they lose blue control. JMXC finds Bionk in response. Swanee, though, has Shaiko, and he has a shield to work with. He knows that there's a player close inside of Elbow. Looks like it's settling down a little bit. Just JMXC and Weiwei as they try and scout out for some intel. They've got Swanee between them right now. He will push down the stairs. Finally, JMXC sweeps on in, distracted by the Nomad, and we've got a 2 versus 2 on our hands.
finally we do see them pick up that kill. And look, Natty back on site to reinforce, his comrade Bumwhistle, who is on towards the rotate area, got the Victor in hand, and a C4 in pocket, as well as 2 maybe impact grenades if they want to try and deny plant with that, but I doubt that will be the case. They're going to try and look near as mission critical is coming soon, pushing through that E-box, and Natty holding it close. Here we go, Wavy pushing through, trying to play the mother hen. Here comes the C4, not going to land though, and that means they're going to have to push through. We finally see the head of the Mira get taken out, but no, Natty's taking out GMXC. It's a 1 versus 1, but Natty wins it out on this first round. It all came down to that 1 versus 1, and the Combat Wombats, they will win it out.
Excellent influence throughout the entire round by Natty. Malusi was the one that we saw starting on the roam, taking out the buck early on and then delivering in the post plant. A wonderful 1v2 effectively. So close for the Nomad there. You could see there was a moment where the cover expected to have killed the player coming through the rotate. Weiwei just, came off the aim and immediately switched to the freezer door and then jumped back, realizing he hadn't actually confirmed that one by the rotate. And it was a nice little kind of 1-2 flick back to the original target, but it did cost a few seconds of reaction, a few seconds of attention, and that might have been enough to give Natty just a bit of an edge in that final 1 versus 1. Really close though. Good attack in general by APO. They managed to pick apart the site quite well, but if it wasn't for that early loss, if it wasn't for not dealing with the roam, then they may have found themselves at a much better advantage when it came to that final 1v1.
Yeah,
or it might not have even been a 1v1.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if they take out that player of Natty, if you think about it, it's a 2 versus 1. There's only a Mira, but things get played differently. It could be completely different in terms of information, etc. as well. But at the end of the day, we are now moving up towards this top floor site. If you remember, this was the stage, the battleground of that last round in that semi-final of the Major. But Jerry, will it be as entertaining?
I hope it will be. I really hope it will be. Oregon can deliver on entertainment, like the Downward Kia phase game that we all saw. That was a fantastic one. So it does get a bad rep sometimes. It's like maybe a bit of a boring map or overplayed, but it's the finer details that are known to such an extent that mean that every single interaction, every single fight means so much on this site, and it really does come to the most down to the most nail-biting things. These are 2 sides that understand the map because they've been in the game for quite some time, and all the individual players must know it like the back of their hands at this point. So you get those really tense 1v1s, and you get those really tense post plants, which sometimes on if you win in the ban phase, for instance, then you're just going to see one team completely outclass another. I think given the standard of that first round, just an early hunch, I think we're in for a good match here.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. It's thin margins anyway. Natty gets taken out. The round could have been lopsided to one side, but no, he manages to clutch all the way out, and Combat Wombats survive, taking that first round. Is interesting though, because Oregon still has managed to kind of go away from that run and gun style where we saw the attackers actually kind of take a lot of precedent, and now is kind of going towards the defenders once again. And here we go, the breaching is going to get done already. We're a minute 40 in, and all 10 players alive right now. They're obviously trying to clear out Attic, as we see EC Kovac moving slowly down and towards, oh no, I thought that was a player, but no, it's just the Ayana clone gaining information, and oh no, Natty is still alive and lurking around trying to see if he can pick up a freebie. Looks up through the hatch and towards Attic, and no, look at this, EC Kovac unawares to the positioning, and a great kill there, as there seems to be a flurry up on site.
It certainly does. Swanee with the latest kill. JMXC finds Bionk, and the reason we're staying with Nutty is that he can try and influence from beneath. He's coming up white stairs, sends out an impacted default plant spot, but not anyone there just yet. 3 versus 3. Dicta has fallen back inside of kids' dorms. There is a rotate open and a shield which has now been lost to the attack. You can see a red silhouette forcing their way through lower attic, and we could expect there to be a fight soon enough. But Swanee, holding from deep, takes out Inoob at range. Now we only have 2 attackers left on the side of average players only. Combat Wombats standing firm, but JMXC continues his reign of terror. That may well be a third in the round from the ace. Pushes his way on to the default plant spot and starts to get it down. Weiwei once again tasked with holding cover in a 2 versus 2. We've seen this before already. Finds Swanee, fantastically done. Expects to rotate, but looks the wrong way. Can we Dicta now in the 1 versus 1? Doesn't have anything really besides these gas canisters to send out. Decides to smoke out the default, but JMXE has moved over to the sofa, lands the headshot, and clutches yet another round. But this time, it's going in the direction of the attackers. We have 1-1 scoreline.
Yep, certainly, Jerry, your forecast of being an absolute banger certainly seems to be coming true as well. 2 clutches coming straight in here already, Jerry. I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm really excited. We are heading back up to kids' dorms, and well, that says to me that Combat Wombats, they know exactly what went wrong. They don't want to try the tertiary just yet. And well, I mean, compliments to APO and the way they were able to kind of pick apart that site. It did come down to a kind of clutch scenario, but I mean, the work that they got done, the information that they gained was absolutely huge. Just losing that Maverick out so early up in towards Attic probably could have aided that push again. And well, the question is, Jerry, is the shutdown of Natty just that important that, I mean, it pushes that round to the edge? Is he going to be the key player in this matchup between these two teams?
Certainly making a case for it, but someone else who also is JMXC. Look at those stats already. After 2 rounds, 6-1. And we just saw him clutch out in the 1 versus 1 post plant, getting the plant down as well. So there's some really, really nice stats to his name, not just in terms of kills, but the impact he's having and the objective play that he's bringing to the table, making sure that his job is done well. Also, those Selma charges have been pivotal in exposing these defenders' positions and making sure that that early work is being done for APO to mount an attack. 1-1 the scoreline. We're back up on the top floor, and we see a bandit being brought now. Bum whistle on the German operator to provide a little bit more wall denial. They're considering that it's something that APO are really leaning quite heavily into, especially with the presence of the double hard breach gadget, at least on the bottom floor site. They have ditched that for now, though, going with a little bit more soft destruction instead, in the form of the Sledge Yana duo, a very potent one at that. They've got lots of explosives between them, but speaking of explosives, Nate's making an explosive start to the round, finding Jaff, who just launches himself into T2 without checking the top.
He manages to get that kill on Jerry. That might be a bit of a freebie. Again, the Maverick getting taken out. That's a few rounds in a row now that you don't want to be losing that operator so early. I know they had the breach open last time. This time, won't even be able to do so. And while the frag grenades, I mean, that's what's lost. That's what the biggest part of this round is. But here we go. The clutch factor comes in. GMXC manages to even out, taking out Bionk. There goes the Wamai, the repeatable utility that keeps, well, I mean, getting generated, but no, look at this Natty, who actually manages to jump out, but get taken out, and look at this, Combat Wombats, they're falling apart. APO really starting to put their mark on this round.
Certainly are. 2 versus 4 we find ourselves in now. The double SAS operators. This is such a frequent occurrence, it seems, stacked up against the odds. Weiwei just going in and saying, I've had enough of it, but maybe overcommitting without the support of his teammates. How costly could that be down the line? Combat Wombats now have a lifeline in the 2 versus 3 and can turn their attention towards the main push coming on from APO. They have managed to force their way into a default plant spot yet again, very early on. Good movement by JMXC. Dicta sends out a toxic gas canister, but it's not enough to deny the plant. Kovac picks up Swanee, and now Dicta in the 1 versus 2 does manage to down JMXC, but it is not a post plant. In fact, he came off that to try and fight the angle. Doesn't matter. Cleanup comes through. APO gather another round.
They certainly do, and I mean, that attack was a lot more proficient this time round, and the question is maybe that play from Natty was what kind of make or kind of like made or break the round kind of thing. Maybe if he returned to site would have been a different scenario. I mean, 3 players on site rather than the 2 could have been different, but at the end of the day, that's if, buts and maybes and small margins indeed. We are going to head back to laundry and supply, and that did come down to a 1 versus 1. APO's attacks are starting to get a lot better as time goes on here, Jerry, but can they make it 3-1 on this basement defence?
Well, this is the one that they didn't manage to take before, but it was incredibly close, as you recall, so I wouldn't put it past them. It looks like APO do have a slight edge it would seem, given the generally defender-favoured nature of this map. And when defenders win rounds on this map, it tends to be slightly more convincing. It tends to be quite comfortable. We've seen a lot of very, very close rounds, and in fact that last one was even more comfortably in the hands of APO. They are slowly but surely gaining that momentum in this game, and of course we all know how important momentum is in Siege. And I do like the switch here from Bumwhistle. Not necessarily hitting their shots so far today, so bringing out the clash with the barbed wire, certainly a good way to slow down this juggernaut of APO.
Yep, they certainly have been. And I mean, this is it, Jerry. When it comes to this attack, I wonder if APO will go for the same thing as what they have previously. That's what we tend to see from a lot of these teams, because, well, they don't have a kind of coach that can dedicate themselves to building massive amounts of strats, and that's just sometimes the way they go. But does that mean that because there's that kind of reliability on the same defaults, that, well, Combat Wombats can maybe read into this, and Natty could maybe reposition and pick up another freebase? Well, his roam was probably the most defining part of that last round, and already we are seeing those orange outlines out towards Big Tower. I don't know if this is going to work.
Well, I'm interested in seeing the location of JMXC. No, not JMXC. Whoever was doing the roam clear last time around, I believe it was Inoob on the buck instead of the sledge. Yeah. But oh, look at that. How unfortunate. Nati managing to slip between the cracks of the flank hold as Inoob just not watching this particular retreat and manages to fall back to site safely. 2 minutes though left on the clock, so you can consider that somewhat a victory for APO as they have effectively cleared out this top two floors. They don't necessarily know it yet though, so they are still making sure that they have redundancy factor in place, sticking down some air jabs, making sure that they send out some drones. But Bionk and Bumwhistle holding close on tier 1. They are making sure that they have the intel, and Bionk is fed that by the clash, nails a headshot onto JMXC. What a pick early on, dealing with the ace and the top fragger on the side of APO.
Yep, certainly, that's a huge kill, and also, again, that is the ace. That's a massive, massive blow in terms of utility for these attackers. But, well, the thing is, though, was one thing that we can note here, Jerry, is the fact that APO seem to be able to make it work whenever it comes to that sort of scenario. But with that being said, the clutch factor again, as you've already said, the top fragger, GMXC, the highest performer on the team, has been taken out. The clash deciding to, well, change her line of sight, actually going towards the bunker area. Oh no, a grenade was propped. Is it going to go through? Are they actually going to try and bounce it here? Oh no, the clash changes it to the shield, tries to do the bikini, but it isn't going to work. Manages to back out as well. Lots of utility has been, well, I guess you kind of committed here. Call me Dicta is starting to creep up though. This could be, well, the kind of defining moment, the moment that maybe make a strike on towards these attackers. They're starting to get really aggressive, really starting to get the blinkers on for this clash. But already, what the hell's just happened here? Javis managed to go onto site, and it's just been an absolute flurry of kills. Natty trying to come back, trying to scramble back, trying to maybe clutch this round back. Doesn't look as if it's going to be the case. He does pick up one, but the second isn't to be as AC Kovac finishes out that round.
APO have really flipped a switch here. You can see the aggression is continuing to ramp up, and as we go on, they're getting more and more confident in taking these gunfights and more successful in the margins by which they're winning these rounds. You know, they lost the clutch the first round, then the second they clutched it instead, then the third they managed to win with a couple of bodies up. There, I think we had 3 by the very end. It was a 4 versus 1 at one point. That flurry of kills in your feed, Jaff being the main contributor. I believe he was the Maverick sitting atop electrical hatch and just decided to drop. You could see there was a big pinch going on towards the clash between the tower stairs and construction, and that was attracting a lot of the attention, well, of everyone it seemed in the server, and he just slipped in and diced and sliced his way through the remaining anchors. So very, very nicely done by the Mav. And Jeff manages to get on the board with his first couple of kills, and they were incredibly impactful ones. So you can just see that not every time does the numbers tell the full story.
Well, Jerry, this is it. I mean, see, the thing is, though, right? See, when in that blue moment, we saw Comedy Dicta starting to slowly creep up towards that door. See if she'd maybe been that bit more aggressive. Maybe she was able to kind of grab that kill on towards the sledge. I mean, because the thing is, though, they were so kind of blinkered towards that clash Like like the thing is though, I know the clash is annoying. I know she's kind of in your face, but there needs to be a different kind of focus when it comes to the correct targets, because that smoke could have swung at any time, and especially when it's Call Me Dicta, that could have been an easy couple of kills.
I have a theory, which is that it was Wei, I believe, Nomad, on those back stairs. Perhaps a couple of air jabs had been sent out to keep those defenders at bay, because he had back stairs, but it also seemed that, you're right, no one was really pressuring him around pillar or anything like that. Eventually they got some shots down onto him from inside the site with the open single wall, but it took a very, very long time for Combat Wombats to clock on to the fact that there was a pinch. Oh, a tasty shot there from Ainu. Good reactions to make sure that Nate is felled, and the roaming Jaeger, who thankfully would have dumped all his utility, seems a little bit confused at the nature of that one.
Yeah, certainly seems to be the case, and well, look at this, seems to be hitting a bit of a hitting kind of one of the alibi drones, giving away the position, so already they know that this is going to be a main point of contention just because of the way that APO have been playing, but they're really starting to focus their eyes, and already Ainub giving away his position. So right now, Jerry, when we look towards this, looks as if APO have kind of went for standard blue push slash big tower, and already we are seeing Combat Wombat starting to position themselves and poise themselves for that attack, and when it comes through. But at least this time we haven't seen the entry frag go towards Combat Wombats.
We've got the Goyo on side of Combat Wombats this time as well. They are really investing quite heavily in these shields. You can see basically a total of 4 for Combat Wombats. So they have a lot to sit behind and a lot of time to waste as well with those gas canisters. 3 still in pocket for Dicta, but you can see Jaff getting this angle onto one of the shields and very easily dealt with, it would seem. Maybe not the best placement, but Wei pushing down backstairs yet again. Finds Swanee, but this time is felled by the Vector of Bum Whistle. Can't quite get confirmed, and that will allow Wei to slip their way back up the stairs and allow for a possible res opportunity. And that could be really costly, because we could be seeing a 5 versus 3 coming into the final few minutes of this round, or the final minute of this round. Unfortunately, my feed is frozen, Cara. I don't know about you, so we can only speculate right now as to what's going on. If anything is to, if things are to continue the way that we expect them to here, it's probably going to go the way of APO yet again.
Yeah, it certainly does seem as if that could be the case here, Jerry, especially with the way that things have been going. APO just look a lot more mature on their attacks. Combat Wombats don't really know. I'm not saying they don't know what they're doing, but they certainly look as if that's to be the case. And now I'm starting to get worried, as we're seeing we're looking at a 4-1-half, potentially even 5-1, after the next round. And Combat Wombats haven't even tried a tertiary site yet, and already we've given the kind of advantage over towards the other team once we hit that 4-1 scoreline, and yet there we go, it is confirmed. So Jerry, with that being the case, the next half is going to be really tough for the Combat Wombats.
Those early frags did really make it a formality. I mean, you can't write off a 3 versus 5, especially when the defenders are at that disadvantage. But it just doesn't seem as though Combat Wombats are switched on enough at the moment. And no matter how much denial, no matter how many shields you're bringing, it isn't making any difference. So you can see now Combat Wombats, they've decided, okay, we're heading back up to the top floor. It's the only site that we've actually managed to scrape together a single point on so far. So let's just ditch the laundry for our final defense. Switch things up a little bit as well. They've ditched a couple of the operators that would help them in the war denial department, and instead they've got a lot of intel counter. So they've got the Mozzie, they've got the Mute, and a Frost to boot.
Yep, they certainly do. Oh, I think...
we're a little stuck here, it seems.
Yeah. I think that seems to be a little bit of my problem on our side. Oh, no, there we go. Finally, my feed's been refreshed. Sorry, you had more information than what I did there.
Fair enough. I think I got to see the operator picks for a little bit before the before it went. Right, so okay. Sorry guys at home if you're just tuning in, and we've had a little bit of a problematic start to the broadcast, shall we say? But it looks as though this is the healthiest the feed has been. We've got some game audio now as well. Hallelujah! And we can finally start to dissect this setup. And it looks as though not only you've got that intel heavy focus, but also a lot of catching utility with the Aruni and Wamai to protect stuff.
Yep, certainly. Well, I mean, you're saying hallelujah, sorry, Jerry. But Combat Wombats, they're going to be on a bit of a prayer here with the way that things are going, or needing a prayer, needing some sort of miracle in this round. I mean, you said dissect around. I mean, look at this. You've also got a lot of kind of intel denial in terms of Mozzie and Mute helping out there, and obviously that kind of frost maybe to try and deny any fast pushes from APO, but they've been very standard in the way they've been doing things, very slow and methodical, kind of doing all the kind of checklists that you need to do. So we need to see if that continues.
Yeah, you've got to give props to Weiwei. I think playing the Nomad to perfection, it would seem so far this game. It just means that APO can really focus on what's in front of them. And she's always been a fantastic pick on Oregon because you can pretty much rely on those. There's a lot of bottlenecks involved in pulling off a flank when it comes to this map. So as long as you're past a certain point on the attack, you can rely on those air jabs to keep your back safe for the most part and just focus your efforts on the site itself. Now, unfortunately, I think we may have cursed it a little bit as the feed is once again jankifying. But as you can see right there, round getting set up on that top floor, and I mean, there's not much to dissect, really. It was 5 versus 5. We're about 40 seconds in. Player holding inside of Armory. Hello, Gyro, we're here.
Sorry.
I'm a bit surprised by that. I just taking your notes.
I was just, doing notes, and then I was, I looked up, and I had my mic muted, so I was just listening to you, kind of go through the motions, and then I was like, nice. Oh, right, we're back.
Nah, it was a Jerry podcast at that point. I'm glad you were enjoying it. But, yeah, presumably we're now about the minute mark in the game, so we'll get to see what the result of that one was. I mean, if any round is going to go in the favour of Combat Wombats, it kind of has to be this one, right? The final defence, you're already 4-1 down. If you go into the second half at that much of a deficit and it's going to be your attacking half, then you need to pull out all the stops to recover. So, yeah, a 4-2, just about manageable. 5-1, they may be dead in the water before we even get back into the game, potentially. Yeah. It could be that bad for Combat Wombats, depending how they do in this final round. Yeah,
without a doubt. I mean, on top of that, you've got to kind of consider the fact that Combat Wombats actually haven't won on the top floor yet. The only round that they have won on is bottom floor.
You're right, yes.
So that means that, I mean, if you're going by trends, if you go by statistics, which, I mean, people tend to do, this should technically be an APO round guaranteed. But, I mean, at the end of the day, things can happen. I mean, it's a siege. I mean, maybe they just go that kind of aggressive style on defense, which we've been seeing a lot more, matching aggression. And with that being the case, then maybe we could see a Combat Wombats pick up a round. But, I mean, that's the thing. APO aren't even being that aggressive.
No, it just seems to be very, very well played methodical siege, and they're losing a couple of gunfights that they maybe shouldn't, losing a couple of advantages that they could have gained. There was one round that stumped me, which is the second Dorm's attack, where we had a 4 versus 2 in favour of the attack. And they're still permitted to make certain mistakes, and it's not costing them. Like, there was a solo jump into the window, I believe, from Weiwei, this Kid Storm's window. As you can see, we're back in the game, and APO have successfully managed to get into the second half with a 5-1 split on attack. Now, that is quite something, and Combat Wombats, if they are to try and pull this back, they need to punish whatever mistakes Average Players Only are bringing, because APO, they're not playing perfectly. This is Scrappy Siege. This is at a university level where we're also kind of mixing things up, where we've got players from different universities that aren't necessarily used to playing with each other a ton in a competitive setting. But we're at, week 7 at this stage. They should have some sort of bearing of what's going on, and those elements are starting to come through. You can see it in APO's attacks for the most part, but obviously it's not a well-oiled machine at this point. So yeah, pouncing on those opportunities, especially on defense, is really the name of the game here, and I didn't see enough of that from Combat Wombats.
Yeah, I totally agree. But the thing is, though, is when you go into the attack and you have to make those opportunities by yourself, you have to actually take it to the defenders as a completely different scenario. I would say, I mean, now you're kind of looking at the fact that, like, they've already been making mistakes and kind of been manipulated on defence, but how are they going to do on the attack? How are they going to kind of stop that manipulation by APO? How are they going to stop themselves getting pulled apart? Maybe even stop themselves giving away early picks? Because at the end of the day, on the attacker side, you are a lot more vulnerable than you are on the defence in terms of how you can sit, how you can roam on the map. I mean, the attackers need to find you. You don't need to find the attackers. It's all completely different when it comes to that scenario. So this this is a really massive point on this game.
It certainly is, and I don't know if I'm privy to more information than you are, Kyra, but you might want to have a quick check with our chat. We do actually have a feed of the game, and it's ready to show you guys at home as well. So a couple of backup options have been put in place, and you can see already Combat Wombats are behind. They are under the cosh. Before we came in, I got to witness a very brazen run out by Ainoob out of master bedroom doorway, out of the balcony. Just to further the impact that these entry frags are having from APO. And JMXC finding Call Me Dictator, leaving Bumwhistle in a 1 versus 3, and now with a couple of drones available and out already, maybe some time to gather intel, but decides to go at it anyway. Takes the peek. Jaff sends out his first of 3 toxic gas canisters with 50 seconds left on the timer. Bumwhistle now deciding to force their way through big window, probably one of the least smokable positions, so not the worst call, but does have to face down a potential crossfire if this site is set up correctly. It does look like you've got one inside of kids' dorms there. JMXC close on the window, goes for the fight without the support of the teammate. Bumwhistle gets the down, and if they are able to confirm that kill, would be the first kill of the game. They need to get another 2, however, to have any sort of value translated into the round win. Kovac very low. Jaff a little bit worse for wear, but not too bad as he sends out that final toxic gas canister. It's going to hold the Thinker at bay. Doesn't boost herself because that would expose herself to more of that toxic gas. But more importantly, the angle being held at range is enough to deny Combat Wombats an attacking round. And APO, they are sitting pretty. They are moving on to match point here.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I mean, it's almost flawless with the way that things are going. Obviously, we just kind of missed out what has been happening, but right now it just looks as if APO, very mature, very laid back. They were able to set up the crossfires. Obviously, GMXC did try and peak, but he did have the bolster and numbers in his back pocket of his team. Plenty of utility to kind of close out that round, Jerry. So all in all, very impressed by APO's first defensive round, and well, they are going to head to this laundry and supply, and they're flashing a clash. Now I'm hearing screams. Is that yes? Is that eBack? Is that? Can I hear him from
somewhere in the distance? He's just dropped everything he was doing, and he's out on a nice picnic, a nice evening picnic. He's jumped up, sandwiches everywhere, running across the forest, going, "They picked a clash! I'm coming!"
The thing is though, when are we gonna get an eBack review of Bull Clash players? When is that coming?
He has done it before for other leagues. I'm certain that if provided with enough sort of intel on round history and stuff, he would happily put something together. I don't know. eBack, if you're out there, that's a good idea for you to do. If you got a little bit of spare time, go do that. We want a clash montage from Bull. It might be slim pickings, I don't know, but JMXC top fragging in the lobby on the clash now. We may get some clips here.
Oh no, I'm having flashbacks. Clash downstairs on Oregon. Oh no.
Yep, I mean,
do you remember what I'm talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Paragon ECS playoff.
Oh god, that's a throwback.
That is a throwback.
That is a real throwback. Yeah. Who was it that clutched up big there? I can't remember. My memory's awful when it comes to like individual players and matches.
I think no, that was the kind of the scenario where I was the observer, and I made a joke.
Oh god. Okay, now I remember. Now.
Yeah, that's why I was having PTSD.
Yeah, that's why you're not an observer anymore.
That is exactly why I'm not an observer anymore.
Oh man, that is delving into that. I thought you'd cast that aside. You see, at the moment I begin to forget all the bad crap about you. Just dredge it up yourself. Thank you for doing that. Well, Ainoob on the roam takes out Nutty, and well, I mean, if there was going to be some sort of ace in the hole for Combat Wombats, it's not going to be the Nook this round. Maybe it's the ace of Swanee that's being brought instead. So we see Dictor peeking towards that construction hole, the deep elbow setup, the deep shield, and there's no one inside of Shiko at the moment to protect just a direct push towards the smoke. This may be a bit of an oversight, but at the moment, Combat Wombats don't have either the intel or the confidence to go for it. 2 on the roam. Still.
This is interesting. a minute 30, and I mean, right now, Combat Wombats have the advantage on site. Obviously, they've put one on towards the flank watch area, so technically 3v3, this is winnable here for the Combat Wombats in terms of site control, but again, this is completely different, as already one player is going to run straight through. Inoob still containing his reign on the roam as he picks up another one, but Bumwhistle will shut down the clash of GMXC. So right now, 3 versus 3 still on site, but as I see, that Bjonk does get taken down, and look at this, the site players are starting to run rampant, and there's only one player left. Make that 0, as it is 7-1. APO, they close that one out in dominant fashion.
Yeah, and when you looked at the performances of both these sides so far this season, you may have thought, well, you know, they're both sort of middling sides in terms of the table. Before this game, we had Combat Wombats sitting on 4th and Average Players only on 6th. They have now managed to leapfrog the Wombats into a very comfortable 4th place, pushing down everyone between them as well. IOM now sink a single seed into 6th, and the difference between 5th and 6th is huge. We were talking about this before the broadcast, right? You've got 2nd through to 9th all go through to the playoffs, but if you're in 2nd to 5th, then you get to be in the upper bracket. 6th to 9th, then you're in the lower bracket, and it's not a double elim for you anymore. No, it's a single elim for you, basically. So getting that 5th place spot, or anything above it, so important. 7-1 is such a dominant performance as well, such a dominant scoreline from Average Players only. Combat Wombats, they had their woes this season, specifically on Oregon, and it's continuing to show for them. They need to shore that up, especially before it comes to the best of 3s.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, this is the thing though. Now we kind of head into our next matchup of, I believe it is IOM versus Aces, where you have an informed Aces side. The only time they've lost was in their first Playday, Jerry. They have not dropped a single map since, 5 in a row so far. And well, they're going to be going up against IOM, who are trying to scrap themselves back in towards that top half of the table. But we need to take a break before we get to that.
So, goodbye.
Through the fire, I could conquer the night. If I can make it, if I try to draw the red light. I could run through the fire, I could conquer the night. If I can make it, if I try to draw the red fire. I could conquer the night if I can make it. If I try to draw the red. I could.
Keep thinking that I could have done something, but now I'm left with an empty heart. No making amends, no waking up beside you and holding you till we forget it all. How could I know there was no second chances? Like dominoes, my life got really scattered. You couldn't keep the door shut, and now the frostbite's creeping in. 'Cause I've been stone cold since you left me here. So come home, why won't you reappear? Things that I said came out totally wrong. Can't speak of the truth when it's tainted. I fell into a big black hole. It got me stone cold. You got me stone cold. You got me stone cold. You got me stone cold. Got me stone cold. No Wizard of Oz can undo what I've done. Completely out of luck this time. I'm stuck in reverse. I gotta get away now, but I can't seem to take the lead. Oh baby, how could I know there was no second chances? Like dominoes, my life got really scattered. Still, I find myself hoping that you'll find your way back to me. 'Cause I've been stone cold since you left me here. So come home, why won't you reappear? Things that I said came out totally wrong. Can't speak of the truth when it's tainted. I fell into a big black hole. It got me stone cold. You got me stone cold. You got me stone cold.
to the Badass University All-Stars League. I'm Jerry Brazil. I am joined here by the amazing Cairo, and we have one more game for you today. We've got a brilliant matchup between Aces and Imperium of Mandem. Now, Cairo, you were talking before the break about how Aces, they are on an absolute heater. 5 wins so far this season, only 1 loss, and that came at the very start of the season. What are you expecting from them today? More of the same?
I'm expecting more of the same. Yeah, they seem to be on, as you said, an absolute stormer. And I mean, the only loss that they have kind of been dealt is by, well, one of the best teams in the league, Sleepy Gang. The ones who kind of... Everyone had kind of poised as one of their favourites for the league. They've got Cyber, etc. So with that being the case, I'm expecting a good match against IOM. Obviously, this roster, IOM, have been together for, 3 seasons now. Always up towards the top. Last season, finally made that grand final. But at the end of the day, Jerry, I mean, they're always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Yeah, it does seem that way, and we can show you exactly who not just the brides and the bridesmaids are, but the best men as well, as we see the rosters up here. Of course, the addendum that these stats are slightly incorrect, perhaps a little bit outdated, so don't go by those especially, but we've got the list here of players. Deathly, Benji, Angelic, Scipio, and Rose. A full house, it seems, of players. In fact, no, not a full house. What am I talking about? Like, what's a hand in poker where they're all different cards? Like a straight, I suppose, or a flush.
Either way, that's IOM.
Yeah,
I think that's IOM.
That's IOM. You think? What IOM? Oh yeah, sorry. Okay. So I think our teams are the wrong way around, right?
Yeah.
In terms of logos, but that's fine. So definitely Benji, Angelic, Scipio, and Rose are on IOM, and then for Aces, you've got Sandanos, Dai, Dumfries, Olizan, and Matons. And just a cursory glance, it does seem that we have 10 different unis. Now that's a rarity when it comes to a Bull match, but a really cool one. I mean, it's something that only Bull can deliver, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's it. The only university league that allows other universities to play together, create bonds. I quite like that. But yeah, I mean, straight away, the two players I'm going to put to watch out for, the 2 players, is got to be Rose and Dumfries, but for all the wrong reasons, because these boys love a whiff.
Wow, okay. I forgot that you have a burning hatred for Dumfries in particular, but it's good to see you come out. So expect plenty of Beration on the way. Aces and IOM. So let's talk about the standings, right? Because these two sides at the moment, Imperium of Mandem, have just slipped down a notch because of that win that we just saw, average players only game over the Combat Wombats. Now they're sitting in 6th, IOM.
Yeah.
So on 12 points, they have the potential to then re-leapfrog APO and finish the day on 15 points, and that would draw them level 1 points with Aces. But of course, if they manage it in regulation, that's how they do it. It would actually put them above Aces in the standings because of the head-to-head. So they could potentially end this week in 3rd. Aces, however, they could end top. They could top the table with a win here today. And it doesn't have to be even a regulation win.
It doesn't need to be a regulation one at all. They could realistically, just as long as they kind of finish the job, they get it done. That certainly seems to be the case. But Jerry, the thing is though, you know what? I'll wait for the map bans to come up, because I was going to say one of my points there, but I need to leave it for the map bans because I know exactly where we're going. Oh, here we go. We're heading straight into them. Clubhouse and Cafe, the first 2 auto bans. Is that what was played last week?
Yeah, that's true. So Coastline and Bank, the first actual bans. Once again, these more... Well, I suppose Bank is definitely an attacker-favoured map in some senses, but it's much more expansive than Coastline. Coastline, more attacker-favoured in the senses that your defenders don't have very much room to breathe. So interesting to see those both gone. Very similar to the last ban phase we had. In fact, I think it was Bank and Chalet the first to be gone. Let's see where we end up, though, with our final 2 bans. Oregon and Villa banned out, so we're not going to see Oregon again, thank the Lord. It's Chalet, and this is an interesting map for me, for certain. This is the only place that Aces have lost this season.
That is very interesting. On another thing that we need to point out is, well, IOM have been pretty good on Chalet historically, thinking back to their playoff run last season, where they were able to beat out Combat Wombats, which we said were the kings of Chalet. I mean, we now look towards this season. I believe they've had a fairly good showing on it as well. I mean, Jerry, you'll know better than I. I'm just going to check here. I believe was the game before. I'm trying to remember. I remember the game where they played on Chalet and they had an absolute banger of a game.
Is this Imperium of Mandem?
Imperium of Mandem versus Team Alpha. Team Alpha obviously towards the top of the standings. They played on Shally. IOM beat them 7-2.
Yeah, that's quite a message, right? And Alpha are a fantastic squad, as you alluded to. And on the other side of things, sure, it was the first week, but Aces losing 7-2 to Sleepy Gang, another strong squad on Chalet, and notably not being able to pick up a single defense there. That strikes me as a weak point potentially, especially when you look at the nature of IOM's victory over Alpha. They gathered 4 attacks. So essentially what we're looking at here is IOM could run over Aces here, and they may well have played a blinder in the map phase. That being said, the addendum to all of this is that Aces losing 7-2 in the first week, it was the Sleepy Gang, a very strong squad, and it was the first week. So you're not necessarily going into the first week in this league with strats on Chalet. They've had plenty of time since then, about an entire month to be precise, and maybe they've shored things up here.
Well, I mean, another one, Aces did play APO, the team that we saw in the last map of Oregon, and they won 7-2 on Chalet. So, with that being said, obviously they've kind of changed it round, and already we're seeing the bans coming. An Ayana ban, interestingly enough, from IOM, and a nice little message from Dai.
You can't send likes in all chat, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd be hitting like on that ratio. But either way, like you said, Aces, they do have interesting form on Chalet. For some reason, that win over APO completely skipped my mind. 7-2 loss and a 7-2 win. It could go either way, essentially, and IOM have proven themselves here too. So I think the one thing we can look at all of the history between for these sides and on Chalet is that it's going to end 7-2 no matter what. That's the one consistent factor. Every single game that they've had is a 7-2 here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right now, straight away we're heading back to Master Bedroom and Offices. All kind of defences start off on Chalet, unless you're competent enough to start on Bar Gaming, which is usually what happens. Dai actually going out to a pulse here, Jerry. Not an operator that you see too often. Quite an interesting one in terms of information to be gained. There we go. Okay. 6 picked off of to a mute, interestingly enough. And the less hard breach being taken by IOM as they look to switch off of an ace.
Potentially. It doesn't look like he's doing it. No, going to stick on the ace instead. Thought about it, but decided that utility is worth far too much for his team. As the sole dedicated hard breacher, we do, however, see some secondary hard breaches in the pocket of presumably the Buck. Bringing those along. I don't believe Thinker has access to those, and even if she did, you're probably bringing the frags, right? I struggle to remember what her alternate gadget is ever since she got frags, right? Like, everyone always brings them.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, frag grenades are just too good to not bring. I can't even think myself what they are.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, I like to ask people what is Sledge's other secondary gadget, and it is flashes. He brings flashes.
Is it?
Yeah, he has flashbangs. But no one ever brings them because it's Sledge and he has frags. Like, why would you ever not bring frags?
That's such a good kit.
It's weird, though, isn't it?
Yeah, like... It has thrown me off completely. Oh my god.
I think he's had them since year 1 as well, so it's bizarre to think. But either way, it's just one of those things that even some very experienced players just don't know about. Matem's taking a little bit of early damage, it would seem, in the start of the action phase. Not quite sure where that was from, but in the meantime, he gets away with it. So 3 gas canisters still in pocket makes a big difference late on the round. You don't want to be getting in those early engagements. Ideally, as a smoke, looks like he's sitting inside of Piano as well. So maybe a cheeky peek out one of the windows that didn't go his way, but at least he didn't get his head locked off. As you can see, definitely holding now from the Solarium window. C4 is sent out by Dai, but it won't connect, doesn't quite make it all the way. And now Olizen is the only operator on the defense with one of those C4 in pocket. Decides to leverage it downstairs. Can try and provide a nasty surprise from beneath potentially in the later round. But only a minute gone, and we already see Scipio off the board. That's definitely great start for Aces.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I mean, we're only a minute gone. Oh, a nice trade coming out from Benji, actually just on the flank watch, looking in towards that kitchen area, maybe even just a wall bang, maybe some information there. But yep, that's excellent from them, being able to equal that out to IOM, and we'll keep them on their toes, but the health pool still is in favour of IOM, that's one thing to be said. And the thing is though, Jerry, not much being done in terms of utility right now. IOM really taking their time, they have actually managed to finally gain control of Solarium, so I imagine that utility work will be coming soon.
This is very nice control for Deathly. He's forced his way into Bathroom as well. This is a lot of ground to have been gained, and he does find Matems as well. They now need to try and force him out of Bathroom, but he's hitting head after head. Finds 2, but Dumfries finally shuts him down. 2 versus 3. Dice strikes as well with another headshot. All the kills so far coming from these headshots, at least in the past 20 seconds or so. 2 versus 2 now. Peeking towards the Solarium, but can't hit Tyan, and now 1 versus 2. Dumfries trying to retake through Bathroom. Senses flashbangs being sent out. Maybe knows that the execute's coming through. Oh, catches the tail end of the buck, but not enough. And now they know where he is, so they'll be watching Benji trying to set down the diffuser. Tyan. Oh no, the breach activated, and now he has a sightline. Worked against Benji. Plant denied, and now Tyan swings out and just about rescues the attacking side. IOM. Boy, that was close.
What were they thinking? Why did they open the breach? I know they're kind of trying to set up for the post plant, but they've just heard shots come from Solarium. What is the thinking there?
It was set on the wall, and the timer elapsed. I don't know whether it's being jammed or something. Unfortunately, you don't have maybe he shot out a jammer and started planting. That has to be what happened, because otherwise, I don't think he had time to set that on the wall, run in and start planting. I think it would have opened a bit sooner than that. So my hunch is that there was a mute jammer, and maybe it got shot off. And that was a bad call if that was what happened, because that was actually protecting them. Maybe they didn't know that that Jaeger would stay in Solarium. Maybe they expected after the warning shots fired from Bathroom that he'd try and rotate back. It did look as though the cover wasn't looking towards Solarium, so maybe that was the thinking. Maybe they were like, oh, I'm going to create a bit of an opening to benefit Benji after the plant, but didn't expect him to be lingering there. Who knows? It's all a bit of speculation at this point, but I mean, on our end, it didn't look pretty.
No, it certainly didn't look pretty at all, and I mean, it gave Dumfries a massive load of hope. I mean, that's the thing, IOM certainly letting things get dangerous there, but already we are going to re-attempt this top 4 site, and obviously Aces probably a lot more confident on how to go about things as well. We've seen how IOM like to do their takes. One Solarium take, pretty well done, I must say, apart from that disaster at the end. We'll need to see exactly how things can kind of be shored up by the side of Aces. And well, this is the thing though, Jerry, another moment or another thing that we need to talk about is maybe the freebies that Aces actually gave up. You think towards Die actually peeking out in towards Solarium. You think towards, I believe it was Hot Oz and actually getting taken out in Bathroom from maybe a camera giving away his position. Also the fact that Deathly was able to sneak all the way up and in towards Bathroom. These are 3 key points that Aces could easily shore up and make the round a lot more winnable.
They want to shore up these holes because at the moment they are taking a bit of flak. Die, of course, knows that this is a high value position, high intensity position as well, and he will flee after taking a good nade from Trophy. Manages to get past that window without any further damage. 2 C4s were in pocket of Aces. Die having sent that one out now leaves Ollison with once again the sole C4, and he was taken out quite early last round by the flank hold of Benji himself. We see Scipio actually rotating to try and provide some pressure on this library side. And maybe this was a facet to the attack that they didn't get to execute, being taken down to a 4 so early on last time round. Now we'll have to see if Aces are prepared for pressure from all sides as IOM begin to mount on this southerly direction. Pushing through into Fireplace as they see that the coast is pretty much clear, and a lot of ground is being gained very early on and very freely by IOM. We saw last round, for instance, Deathly able to walk into Bathroom after swinging into Solarium, and now they've just gotten the whole southern side completely scot-free.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, this is the thing. But the thing is, though, Jerry, time is extremely short here. They're going to have to do so much work in such little time. A minute left. I know they have so much map control, but already we are seeing the rumors of Hot Olizun and Sondano starting to scramble a little bit, and maybe they could get a freebie here, especially from that main stairs area. Keep an eye on there. The breach now finally open. Lines of sight able to be opened up, but Piano's still not cleared here yet.
Oh, but everyone on the side of IOM is being cleared to go and execute, that is, as they get felled by the guns of the Aces. Benji replies with a frag onto Dumfries, and the Jaeger down for the count, but we still have 2 toxic gas canisters here to try and deny the entry to Flute Balcony. And that's going to force the attackers through these bottlenecks, through Piano, and into these Aruni gates. Everyone's stacked up on the double wall. Buck opening up this wall now to try and create an alternate entry point. Scipio manages to walk through it, but takes a lot of damage and takes the fight onto the smoke. Wins it. Benji with another. Hot Olizun, though, with a C4 from beneath. Now needs to scamper back to site as a 2 versus 2 is going to play out here. Both Ronies in hands of the defenders. Timer hit 0, but Rose is sticking the diffuser. Hot Olizun has the sight line towards Rose and denies the plant with a few seconds left. Aces scrabble together around.
What is happening there? Scipio completely missing out the correct positions to actually be watching the Aruni. If Hot Olizun wasn't able to actually shut down the plant, I mean, imagine the Aruni would, and then it would have been a 2 versus 1 even if the plant got down. It was all down to that one plant, and an absolute clutch C4 coming out from the Mozzie, then the kill onto the planter. Hot Olizun may as well have won that round for his team, but remember, those early frags that they got once the breach was open was absolutely huge. Maybe not the right call from IOM to switch over, but it nearly worked out.
It was a fantastic rally from IOM. Those 3 remaining attackers took down so much. And, I mean, they didn't kill the last 2, and they did have to stick a plant in a very odd position. But the most annoying thing watching that and sort of playing it back in my mind is that Rose, on the Nomad, sticking the diffuser at the very last second, didn't have an air jab covering Ivy Says. And that's where the flank came through to deny the plant. That is just so saddening, because undoubtedly you would have had one around the fireplace area, maybe even on the bar double door or bar single door, because that's quite often where you see roamers just, you know, pop out and deny someone that main breach into sight. But definitely you need one around Ivy, at least at the top of Ivy, to prevent that sort of flank late game. And I mean, it's unfortunate Rose having the diffuser in hand didn't have the cover behind her to make sure that it was safe, and it was a good chance there for IOM to get another round. And they have attempted 2 plants, one being successful on in fact both of them being unsuccessful, but a round at least being one so far on the Master Red Room. Finally, Aces get that defense, and now they can rotate down to the bar. Are we going to see another plant attempt here? I wouldn't bet against it.
I certainly wouldn't either, and already Scipio completely racing through here, gaining so much map control uncontested. And well, the thing is though, it's kind of, maybe I say uncontested, wow. Sontanos, how has he been able to do that? And he's able to scamper away scot-free like an absolute ghost, a ship in the night. He is unable to be picked up, and well, I think there was a buck maybe going Benji trying to react to it, but that is an absolutely huge pick, because now there is no flank watch and the Nomad being taken out.
Yeah, they certainly have the wind of their sails now. Aces with that early pick. A lot of control here for IOM though, as they have managed to claim this portion of the map and are pushing now towards Fireplace. The Buck making light work of that wall to allow a bit of pressure towards Sundownos. He doesn't have a shield to assist him here, as is quite often the tradition, but does have the Roni at range. He's missing a few shots, but this is a common position, so not too much intel given away there by the defense. Could be opening up a couple of extra lines of sight. It's going to force IOM to worry about pushing down this highway anytime soon. Dai has the shield inside of the box room instead. That's quite an interesting position. First, Flores drone sent out to burn that Aruna gate, and now the second maybe of a bit more success and find either the shield at the top of Ivy or the one inside box. Looks like it's going to come out and destroy the one on Ivy, so there's 1 down, 1 to go. There's not much that they can do here, really. Scipio trying to cook a frag, and it looks like that one wasn't necessarily caught by the ADS as it destroys the shield, and now that Flores drone can actually be used to force Die out of position. He drops down the hatch. Scipio gets down though by Olizon as he tries to force his way into Ivy, and despite gaining a lot of ground and removing a lot of utility, they've lost so many bodies here now. 2 versus 5, make it a 1 versus 5 as Sandanos fires Tian, and Deathly responds with a pistol to gather a flawless round for Aces. That was so well executed by IOM, but it didn't matter.
No, it didn't matter at all. I mean, this is the thing though, Jerry. The way that they were able to clear the map, the way that they did all the utility work, absolutely amazing. Probably some of the best that we've seen in a university level. But the thing is though, see while they were clearing utility, see while they were doing these things, they were giving away sound calls, they were giving away information to their opponents. The fact that Scipio, for instance, missed the smoke, actually running across the screen, absolutely huge. And with those sound calls, what did Aces do? They just started taking picks. They started doing things to really unnerve their opponents, swinging things they probably shouldn't be, getting frags that they shouldn't be. For instance, Sundanos picking up that Nomad, it meant they had to keep checking their shoulder and make sure that, well, maybe one was on a drone, etc. I don't know. It certainly let Aces run rampant, and now they're on track for a flawless round rotation. Site rotation.
It's bizarre because, like, that didn't seem like a wipeout. That didn't seem like Aces had it in the bag at all. But we see flawless at the end of it. Very, very odd stuff, and I mean, it was a close round. It really was a close round. I'm not joking. It's just that IOM all died. Very strange. One of the weirdest rounds of season I think I've ever witnessed, but Aces come out on top. So, they're coming down to the tertiary site for Aces now, as they've won 2 in a row, and they're going to be heading to kitchen dining, eschewing that bottom floor, which is quite often ignored, and an extension here of sorts towards Solarium. Looks like Dai wants to place those frost mats around Trophy. I mean, really the only entry you've got there directly is a window, so it's a nice spot for it. You see someone, or you hear someone jumping in that window and you're playing Solarium Stairs or anywhere really, maybe the split corridor, and you know, they have to jump in, they have to look down, they have to shoot it out. You have the opportunity to swing on it, but these frost mats aren't spread as far and wide as you may hope, because this hop into library is pretty standard here, pretty easy for IOM. About as far from the site as you could possibly imagine, so they're going for a full map clear.
Yeah, they're certainly taking their time here as well. They're going to try and not make sure to make any mistakes like they did last time. This site is really intricate and unique in the way that it's kind of done. I say it's unique, it's not really realistically in the kind of theory of it, the fact that you defend top floor to defend bottom floor. Right now, IOM taking so much time to do the right stuff, to not make mistakes of old Die, making rotations on the fly here. But maybe not a rotation you want to make, considering the fact that if someone was to go on towards that bathroom window, they could close out that rotation. Oh no, it's the bathroom, sorry, it's the piano area that we're actually looking for here. Hot Olizon, just kind of watching this, not actually making any mistakes. Yes, he dropped off, gave us a sound call, but I don't think anybody was close by to hear. And if there's anything that we can count on, Jerry, is the fact that in Siege you can't count on count on sound, but you can count on time, because look at this. IOM are taking so long to clear this upstairs area.
Yeah, just expecting the mute jammer to be central there when actually it was tucked away to the corner. So that does manage to eat effectively a couple of lifelines very nicely. But the angle gained is so much more valuable as it gives Soundownos his demise. Tian as well finding the player inside a piano. And finally, these breaches come good as IOM now sit pretty with a 5 versus 3 in their favour. Hot Olizon is still on the top floor, and this vertical is mightily important, especially given the lineup that IOM are rocking with that buck. They want to be pressuring from above, so Hot Olizon is just lingering for the time being. Don't know whether he's been detected or not. I don't think the drones have been sent that far. That's a very nice frost mat as well. If someone decides to rotate through, maybe give chase, then they're going to be met with a nasty surprise. And 35 seconds left, Cairo. They haven't got any tabs on this Wamai.
They certainly don't, and they don't have tabs on the time. Look at this, Jerry. They're going to be scrambling when it comes to this execute. 20 seconds remain. The mission critical may be coming. Meatum's losing a ton of health. And oh no, they finally see him, but they actually react quicker. But it's a trade though, Jerry. This could be workable. Here we go, the smokes come out, but no, they finally managed to get the last player and shut down Meatum's. There we go, finally. That frag onto, I believe it was the Jaeger, maybe a Dumfries, shutting him down, and then being able to shut down Meetums. I was getting really worried for IOM. All it would have taken was one spray onto the planter, and they could have won that round potentially, but it was not to be the case, as IOM managed to even out 2-2, which leaves us, Jerry, with 2 sites to go, Master Bedroom and Bar. If our aces can finally complete, or potentially we could see a 3-3, or even, in the worst case, a 4-2 to IOM.
I'm really enjoying watching IOM right now. The sort of slow but steady nature of their attacks, and the way that they're ticking every box as they go along the way, is just impressive, especially at this level, and especially for a map like Chalet, where there's a lot of things to account for. They didn't account for the Wamai inside a box and the top 4 that round, and that was potentially a pivotal factor, but the trade was so important there. Had he gotten away with it, if he'd even managed to just get a kill and Scarper, then that may well have been the round 1 for Aces. But definitely did a fantastic job, not getting the refrag, but following up in the red timer with 2 frags of his own, just waltzing through sight and making sure that he won those ones. Those were not the easiest ones to take. We didn't get to see too much of the drone work from IOM. They may well have done it, but we weren't privy to it. And had they, you know, maybe got some intel on those players downstairs, known the rough locations going into it, that would have been invaluable. That might be why we saw Definitely be so successful in the final few seconds, and why we see right now a tie game between these two sides. They are really giving their best here. It's a very close one between the two, and I can't wait to see how far this goes, because the way it looks, I wouldn't be surprised if we get an overtime.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be surprised either. It looks as if IOM this time, instead of going for the Solarium, then they rotate, they're actually just going to go straight in towards the library. And well, I believe there's only one player usually over towards this side. It is Sondanos, and if there's anything to go off the previous rounds here, Jerry, it's the fact that he can certainly pop off. And now here we go, all the players are here to support him. This is the thing, we need to see the drone work come out to play here. We need to see key information gained in like that. I mean, Jerry, that could have been a deciding moment. The fact that Deathly had get taken down the entry, and as I say that, he gets taken down anyway. There we go, the Sterling gun being able to actually pick up the player of Deathly. Let's peek again, but no, look at this, that pixel peak gets taken out as Rose manages to pick up Die. An easy kill for him, and well, even out the score. Oh, sorry, the man count, I should say.
Wasn't the best peak there from Die, but maybe not expecting that tight angle to be held against them. So, not too bad, and a 4 versus 4 is about fair. I would say that these teams are evenly matched, and right now there's literally nothing separating them. So, top floor control slowly being established by OM, and of course it's a top floor defense, mind you, so they are close to getting to an execute. They just need to make sure that they empty out a few key positions. This half wall position by Dumfries is known, but Dumfries wins the engagement. The spray just a little bit off the mark there from Tian, and he falls, maybe not having leveraged all of those forest drones either. That could be costly given the amount of protection that these shields have. Dumfries with another onto Rose, and a 4 versus 2 now. This Jaeger making the top floor his own. This wine rack, very difficult point to contest, but Scipio taking out Ollerton in the meantime brings us to a 1-man deficit for IOM. They can still clutch this big. Scipio and Benji, they have a lot of picks on their side. Oh, but there's another for Dumfries onto Benji. No more hard breach either for Scipio to work with, as Benji was holding those hard breaching gadgets in his pocket, and the wall is still being denied by a mute jammer. Scipio finally, with a fantastic shot onto Dumfries, brings it down to a 1 versus 2.
Yep, certainly. I mean, the mechanical skill on show is absolutely gorgeous, but maybe not the utility game. Scipio all the way down to about half HP. He's going to try and go in through Flip Balcony. Obviously, this is Renegade. It's going to put him down to about 20 HP, and 2 guns are trained towards his position. No, it's actually the pain's going to be negligible. He pushes in, he picks up 1. He could pick up 2 here, but doesn't look towards the ground. Sondanos in that off position, being able to pick up the kill, and there we go, as IOM lose that round and Aces move towards Bar Gaming, where, if you remember last time, Jerry, was absolutely flawless from both sides, but for very different reasons.
Yeah, that was a very odd round. I've got to give a shout out to Scipio in the 1 versus 3, almost making it work, but very nice positioning by Sandanos there. You can't expect the prone player behind that desk, and exactly the right place to be able to refrag his teammate, knowing that the breach was completely intact still, and that Aruna Gate was guarding them from any direct push through Piano. So nice heads up play there from Sandanos to get close in on that Fluke balcony entryway. We see it now 3-2, and like you said, Aces last time defending this site went flawless in terms of man count. They put together the frags they needed. They essentially wasted enough time to force IOM into these aggressive engagements once the clear had come through by IOM. And the utility trading game was fantastic by the attackers. We want to see more of that. We just don't want to see more of the unfortunate engagements. We want to see them actually get some reward for their sort of organization and the team play that they're bringing, because that's something that at this level, as we've mentioned, difficult to put together on attack, and they are doing a fantastic job doing that. They arguably, I would say, both teams deserve three rounds at the end of this half, because it's so back and forth.
Yeah, I totally agree here, but they're certainly going to have to get work for it this time round, because, well, I'd probably say this is Ace's best site all in all from the way that they have played in the previous rounds. I mean, Kitchen, bit lacklustre, top floor, bit of a flurry every single time. And Bar Gaming, I mean, as we've already said, flawless the way they're able to pick away the kills. Oh no, Sandanos trying to get aggressive once again. But will he get picked out here? He's backing off, going to hold a pixel. Bullets being traded, but now look at him, he's retreating further and further, giving up this map control. Not one to give away the free pick, and well, does so effectively, managing to keep his life intact. But Die now is going to give his attempt at the, well, again, at the roam.
Tagging in here, but definitely holding this angle does cut off potential roams from up those west main stairs, which is what Kai, or Die rather, appears to be going for. I think I've mispronounced his name about 5 times now. It's just the Die dot kicks. It's messing with my brain. Either way, Benji on the top floor, clearing the way through and making sure that Piano is completely his to take. Pocket hard breaches again showing up. Expect to see more of those on your screens in the coming months. We saw plenty at the Sweden Major, and for good reason. Such a powerful tool to have in the back pocket of any operator, not least the Buck, when vertical is so valuable on this map in particular. Definitely decides to fall off the flank hold for the time being, expecting maybe the aggression to come either much later from Aces or not at all. They are directing their attention towards the utility clear here now, as Flores clearing out these shields, and this has been a very successful part, but like you said, they need to net some kills at the end of it. More Flores drones coming through, and regular drones at that as well to gather some intel. Deathly trying to go for the peak off some of that intel as the red pings come through, but not gathering anything just yet. Ace is playing very nice, very reserved, holding their ground. It looks like Rose taken out there by Hot Ollerson on the flank. Die as well coming through Master Bedroom. Benji finding that Roma, but now they have Die to contend with it. He's slipped all the way in, finds Deathly. He may be traded out as well, though, as Benji takes him down. A 3 versus 3 now, as the refrags at least are working for IOM, but they are coming under a lot of pressure. They have no idea now whether these positions are occupied. That intel has completely expired. Tia now trying to go for a bit of a Hail Mary play through Mudroom. As we see the 3 versus 3, he could be the deciding factor. Smoke player looking up. He has no clue how close Tian is, and maybe he does now, because he takes a bit of a spray through the wall. But Matem's caught between a rock and a hard place there, as Benji from above finally seals that kill. And Ace is under the cosh right now. 2 versus 3. Dumfries and Soundownos. They managed to clutch up big last round. At least Soundownos did. Dumfries in tow. If Cairo is here, you could tell that he would definitely be screaming and hoping that Dumfries fails at this endeavor. And there we go. Soundownos takes out 1, drops through the hatch, but there's the second. The call doesn't come quick enough. Scipio does react, and now Benji down, but with no time to res him. The Banshee holding him at bay, and this Aruna Gate will damage him ever so slightly, but it doesn't matter, as Jaeger can hold inside a closet and just wait for the time to expire. What a round right there. Aces once again claiming a Bar Gaming defense. Big brain Malusis proving clutch at the very end. It would seem Die just so sad about the way that transpired. No, sorry, happy, of course, as Aces were the ones to win. So, 4-2 split, Cairo. My God, that was one hell of a round you missed a part of.
No, I know, just things obviously happened there, but Aces, well, they were able to win it out once again, Jerry. They just seem to make it work, and well, when that comes down to it, I mean, when you've got that kind of factor in your kind of pan, when things just seem to go in your favour, well, and when it comes to that, Jerry, you just feel as if maybe it is your day, maybe it is the time for Aces to move, to go towards that top spot. But interestingly enough, it looks as if a Nomad isn't going to be brought. Oh no, I completely missed that. I thought the Nomad wasn't going to get brought for the flank watching, and instead it was going to be the Zero. But no, both are actually being brought, so therefore there's maybe the Zero's there for utility clear?
Potentially. I mean, you can double up on the intel game, and to be fair, you know, Zero isn't just for the sort of map control as Nomad is. He does have that intel sort of facet to his game, as well as utility clear. He does a lot of stuff at once, this operator, and bear in mind, he's also one of the recipients of these Pocket Hard Breach gadgets. Doesn't look like, however, he is being brought with those. Instead, I believe it's a Claymore on him. I'm trying to remember exactly what it is that he brings besides the hard bridge. Yeah, there he is, Claymore. So, interesting. Lots of flank hold, it would seem. And maybe that means they'll be lacking in other departments. Not too much soft destruction. Actually, no, I lied. They've got a ton of soft destruction. This is quite a well-rounded setup. It's just odd to see the Ash nowadays.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think... Oh, no, I was going to say, with the current changes, I mean, I think our recall's a lot more bearable, but that's only in the test server. It's not actually live yet. So, I mean, maybe Hot Olison's just confident on the Ash. I mean, and especially another interesting fact is the R4C that's been brought. It's not even the G36C, which is usually kind of what's being brought in the current meta. Oh no, look at this, the information gain. Tian picked up easily. IOM down a man, and it's only 45 seconds into the round.
Yeah, and looks like the rest of the defense are scrambling to try and react to this bottom pressure here from Aces. Very, very nicely done, and Dai can maybe send in a couple of Zero cams to odd locations beneath, as they do, of course, pierce the floor. So if you can force a defender out of a certain location, say master bedroom, and get a Zero cam into the floor around that area, then you've got a lot of intel on your side, but Dai is actually the one hanging around outside instead. Benji takes a lot of damage from this window rappel. Very nice position to hold on any master bedroom attack, and Aces are doing exactly that. Definitely trying to sort of jiggle peek this window to force them off that position, but really, if you want to get them out, you need to be running out of a trench or something. Saudanos finds Rose in the meantime, and that means that they have full control of Solarium. This is a thick and fast round for Aces, but definitely taking out Dumfries at least gives them something to work with. And another kill coming through. Benji clearing out the one coming through Solarium as he's on very low health, but it's not stopping him collecting the frags. A second headshot now. 2 versus 3 for Aces, and this bathroom hold has been so pivotal so far.
Yes, certainly has, and well, on top of that, Benji's able to actually pick up the health, and no, as I see that Dai is able to pick up the frag, I guess. He's going to put down that Claymore. That means that we can't see Benji actually try and progress through into bathroom once again, and a Zero camera to set up for information, just in case that Claymore does get destroyed. Plenty of breaching going on here as Dai and Matums are the only 2 players left to clutch up. Scipio and Benji also going to be their opposing numbers. Right now, looks as if there is going to be a plant attempted as Matums has swung in, and he's going to move all the way into the C corner, into the default position. Scipio getting ready to C4, but actually misses it, which means that, well, maybe this is going to get confirmed. Yes, the 45-second timer does begin, and there we go. The first frag goes in favour of the attackers. Benji swings, he picks up one, can't get the second. Matums wins the round for Aces. 5-2, Jerry, and well, this looks like we have a game on our hands, but IOM need to respond.
They do, and it's such a nail-biting game as well, but it seems that every nail-biting round is just swinging in the direction of Aces. They are the ones that have turned up with the clutch factor today, it would seem. IOM, you know, to their credit, have played a fantastic game of Siege, but Aces are just beating them at that tiny little moment at the very end every single time, it would seem. 5-2 does not do IOM justice, but Aces are certainly proving their mettle here. We may well end 7-2 as predicted, but it certainly wouldn't do IOM justice.
It wouldn't do this game justice. 7-2 on this match. It's just been back and forth consistently. Good things are happening. Like, at the end of the day, Jerry, even though if it finishes 7-2, you can come down and come out and say this has actually been a good game of Siege.
Yeah, I agree. It has been such a great watch and such a great cast so far. I'm hoping that it delivers to the very end. I'm genuinely hoping that IOM are able to claw back a couple of rounds just so that we get to see more of this tight contest. And they're going to start by trying that on the top floor. Once again, holding on to Master Bedrock. We saw a very heavy Solarium push that round from Aces, coupled with pressure beneath. And that was, in retrospect, one of the most important factors. They cleared out Aroma very early on, got that man advantage, and established control within the map. They didn't have to worry about any sort of runouts because they knew that IOM's numbers were dwindling. They could play these windows and just sort of make sure that they held the key positions, and it pushed into Solarium eventually, but they did it in good time. So that's something that IOM will need to look to counter in this round. They had Banshees placed very well last round, but maybe an early pick going in their favor. A couple more tools, such as the Legion, to slow down these attackers. The Mute as well, to stop the advance of the drones, could work in their favor.
Well, right now we are seeing Aces actually enter through the basement. They've done this before, and there's a player on West Main looking to react. Looks the wrong way, looks towards the drone, and look at this. Doesn't realise there's a player right behind. Another free kill being picked up by IOM. No, sorry, by Aces here onto IOM, and Scipio being taken out.
Wow, Dai is doing everything except that, and it's been a fantastic game from him so far. 7-6, and right now 3 versus 5 in favor of Aces. This is looking like one of the more solid rounds overall, and IOM are going to have to try and pull something out of the bag here. 2 minutes left and already 2 men down. So Hotolizon was being hot droned in early, and somehow, you know, with a whiff of luck, won the first engagement. He's going to want a bit more than luck to carry him forward, but Soundownos with a well-placed nade from beneath, it would seem, taking out the player inside the bathroom. That's beautiful team play. And now Rose holding inside of the bedroom, does take out Soundownos inside of Solarium, but Hotolizon is there to take up the mantle. Now, the window repel. This is something that proved pivotal in the last round. Dumfries sitting on it. They know that this is a factor IOM, so they're going to be starting to peek these windows. Dai takes a lot of damage there from the peak of Rose, who decides to scarf it back to Piano. Play close in tow with his fellow anchor, and is rewarded with the kill onto Olizon, who maybe gets a little bit too antsy going through bathroom. And it just seems like Aces in this mid-round, they've wasted a couple of opportunities. They've gotten a little too ahead of themselves, and they've gone for these solo pushes. It's not working right now, Cairo.
It's certainly not working, and well, there's a minute left to try and make it work. As I say that, though, is down to the clutch factor. It's down to Rose, the IGL, the man left with it all to do. 3 players to find, and imagine now we're going to start to see a bit of a stall, a little bit of a time to be taken here. As I say that, though, Meethams is just going to go for the plant, and why even rush things here? Well, there we go, 45-second timer has begun. Rose stuck in a corner, but well, you don't put a dog in a corner. As I say that, though, it looks as if it's all but over. Look at the way that they've set up this post-plant scenario here, Jerry. There's information on his position, and there's a man on big window. It's such a hard position to contest. As soon as he tries to walk through, look at all the utility being confirmed here, and yes, there we go, the confirmation of the round. Aces absolutely emphatic on Chalet so far. Certainly look like a completely different team here, Jerry. One more round, and we have our confirmation of 7-2.
Yeah, they've come a long way since that opening day loss against Sleepy Gang, losing 7-2, and now they are on the precipice of a 7-2 victory here against IOM. No pushovers as well, it should be stated. So, one more round for Aces, and they have 4 chances to get it across the line. 4 chances to top the leaderboard come the end of Playday 7, which we are rapidly approaching. So, how are they going to do it? They've switched onto the Hibana, expecting maybe a little bit of a switcheroo from IOM. After losing a couple of defenses on the same site, you're going to expect that they move around, try something else, try a secondary site, as Bar Gaming is being brought out now. We're seeing a castle as well for this setup. I'm intrigued to see where he's going to be utilized for this particular site, and how those barricades are going to be spread out, what sort of ground they're expecting to hold. Frost as well is a bit of a backup plan to prevent any sort of rushes. Besides that, it's looking somewhat standard. You have the shields, you have the, well, not the ADSs, but the catching utility in the form of the Wamai. And the Thunderbird, just for a little bit of longevity, is what we've seen consistently here from IOM, is that they like to have those Kona stations to facilitate the early peaks, the early engagements that they want to take on defense, and just to be able to have the security knowing that they can come back to site whenever they so please and get juiced up.
Yep, certainly. Well, Jerry, we'll need to see if Bar Gaming is going to be the place where they can make it work. Maybe start something of a comeback potentially, but at the end of the day, we'll need to see. Already Scipio has picked up a drone, but he will have given away his positioning on this roam, which means that Aces potentially roam clear could be a little bit more efficient in the fact that they know his whereabouts and know the general location is already. They're starting to look towards the trophy area. Scipio will be able to contest from this long angle, and the drone's going to confirm his position very quickly. As here we go, the ping's coming out, and here we go. Hot Hollison trying to contest, gets taken out. Scipio with a freebie doing the job that Sundanos was doing in the last game, last half, and got away scot-free.
Yeah, and this is one of the first times that we've seen this bottom floor, middle floor roam work out for IOM with an entry frag that hasn't been refragged as well. That is huge. Ollison has been doing decently on these entries, but always being hot droned in and not often with anyone behind them in tow to pick up the pieces should they fail. So now they are punished for that. Aces, the 4 versus 5, very early on. No opportunity to leverage the soft destruction that Ash would bring. But they are well equipped to deal with these castle barricades. A Habana and a sledge means that they won't be left standing for very long, whether they are near or far. And definitely holding this angle onto the balcony, expecting some pressure. But it's the nade from a prone position, beautifully tossed by Sandanos to give them back any sort of hope that they wanted moving into this round. Now, back at an even man count.
Yep, certainly. Taking out Castle, maybe not a massive loss in the grand scheme of things, but it is a position lost, a gun lost in the grand scheme of things. And while that beeping is finally stopped, thank God, our headaches can potentially go away now. Rose stuck on Ivy though. This is like a big positioning to really can talk about. There is information being gained on the positioning of where these players are. There was a bulletproof finally shot out, and now they are going to move forward as they have gained full control of the library area. They're just trying to clear out, taking their time, tentatively moving forward. But it's mainstairs and you watching, no! Maybe even the big window as well as Sundanos gets taken out by a frostbat. Scipio getting ready to swing as players are looking towards his position though. Can they pick him up? It looks as if maybe Scipio are going to win this fight. Yes, he is, as he takes down Dai. Sundanos down. That means that things could get a lot more chaotic as we head towards the execution here, Jerry.
They had explosives to try and confirm those from beneath, but didn't get them into position, and now Matums has found one, and it's 3 versus 3. 2 versus 3 is Tian with the C11, or C, was it? 9mm gets that one. Rose now with a kill onto Sandanos, and IOM look close to gathering their first defensive round. Matums now in a 1 versus 3 with 15 seconds left as the timer hits red. Has one flashbang to his name, but maybe doesn't know the position of Tian. Does expect it, but walks into the crossfire that Scipio is holding. Very nice positional play there by the pair of defenders at the very death. A hip fire to finish it off. IOM keep themselves alive in this game.
Yes, they certainly do, and now it is on to 6-3 here, Jerry. Well, the question is where do you go next? Because top floor hasn't been working. You can't win out top floor, and then you cannot. You go with the gamble of kitchen dining room. I mean, kitchen dining room can be an extremely good defense, but it always ends up in chaos because of a last-minute breach. Because the attackers have to do so much upstairs, or maybe, just maybe, with this line in hand, there could be a West Main rush.
Could be, but it is being... Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go for that rush, surely he's the one that you hide and switch to. But instead it's going to be the Flores. And that is quite a nice 6th pick, because you show the Flores and you think maybe IOM respond by making sure that they have a mute in place to try and counter some of it. Especially on this bottom floor, a lot of these doorways, they are single width. So it's very hard to force a Flores drone through anywhere, barely any windows, and your shields, etc., are going to be very well protected if you have even, you know, pests or jammers to prevent those drones. I anticipate that should Dai survive into the late round, that he's going to have, or the mid round really, he's going to have a big impact on the site setup. There isn't too much in terms of bulletproof utility besides the cameras, however, so not as many things to target with those drones. Maybe we're just going to see them get used for a bit of intel, a bit of vertical destruction maybe even, as we are lacking somewhat in that department. You know, maybe I'll eat my words because I've just spotted the sledge, but either way, you know, the Flores has so many uses, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets value regardless.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the thing is, though, I was about to say, like, with the Cade being brought, he has that kind of counter, but, and the date's already been covered, but at the end of the day, we'll need to see exactly how IOM are going to set up here. I'm not liking how they're setting up so far. Rose in towards Bar Gaming, not a traditional kind of positioning. Obviously, maybe trying to catch off someone being aggressive here, but with him being down there and not reinforcing the site, I don't know, Jerry. Don't know if that's the play. Already there is a Legion mine getting found out by these drones. They're doing so much work here, Aces. The fact that they're able to gain so much information, the fact that they're kind of methodically going through it, and Sundanos getting an absolute freebie onto Tian. And here we go, ... in towards the chat, and Tian realises, well, potentially how heinous his decision was. And look at this, Sundanos on an absolute tear, picks up a second through a pixel, Jerry. A pixel.
Oh my goodness me. A lot resting on Scipio now. He's got an air jab in his sights. Expects to be able to maybe take out and then go for the kill. I don't think Aces recognised that. They didn't hear the shot, so now he has a free chance to try and push up. Dumfries expects that he's protected by his own gadget, but he's just stomping around here. Walks on into Bar, now exposing himself to Scipio. Oh, this is so tense. When are you going to swing? Just take it. It's absolutely free, Scipio. Come on. Solo health. Dumfries hops onto the drone and scouts out ahead. When's it going to happen? Oh, it's got to be now. There we go. Scipio finally lights up the kill feed. Gives Aces a little bit of a headache here in the mid-round. And now definitely with the vertical, turning Sundanos' own holes against him. And a 3 versus 3.
Yes, that's a huge pick onto Sundanos. He's been playing so well this full game and already deathly turning this against the opponents above him. And you know what they say? I mean, I was going to say some Star Wars quote there, but I'm not even going to attempt it. This is not on hand. Well, right now, things are looking a lot better here. We're looking towards us, Deathly and Rose kind of holding down the site. Scipio's still on the roam, potentially maybe trying to catch one off guard. No, as I say that, Scipio's actually repositioned towards West Main / Trophy. Information trying to be gained by Aces as the execution will potentially be coming soon. Potentially it could be at any moment as well. We see Hot Ozin is actually creeping forward and nobody's been picked up yet. He's not been picked up. Taking his time. Scipio, he just looks too far. Dies picking up Deathly, and now it's down to the lone player. It's down to the Legion. Can he pick it up? Rose looking left and right. Finally, bullets start to be traded out. And finally, oh no, I was about to say about to pick up a freebie, but no, it's not going to be the case. He's the freebie. 7-3 in favour of Aces. IOM aren't able to kind of grab that top 4 spot, and we have our new number 1 in the league, Jerry.
We do, and it's the Aces right at the top. Aces are high in this game, and now, I mean, it was such a good game. I don't think 7-3 does it justice. That should have been an OT. That should have been max OT that game, but Aces were just that cut above, and I think that there were a couple of mistakes as well that just shone through at the very end, unfortunately, for IOM that cost them a little bit. That reinforcement, you hate to see it. One reinforcement in pocket. One of the few times I've ever looked at the banner and sort of thought, hey, are there any reinforcements left? And I thought, oh, there's one in pocket. Where is that missing? There's a lot you can do with these reinforcements on this site. Happened to be the most important one of the whole game. So, yeah, sucks to be you if you're Tian. But, stuff like that happens. I mean, they were just so good. I want to give a massive shout out to both sides because for the majority, some of the utility clear and some of the droning in that game was pro level. It was actually brilliant, honestly. I'm not joking when I say that. And someone's gonna, take this out of context and put a clip of me next to that like ending play. But it was. Yeah, for the most part, a fantastic display of skill from both sides. A fantastic display of teamwork from both sides. So yeah, very, very good. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see Imperium of Mandem pushing up for the top spot when it comes to the end of the season. I'm sounding very biased. I promise you I'm not. I was just impressed with their performance, despite the scoreline.
Yeah, I reckon we will see IOM go towards that top 4 spot later in the season. I mean, this is the thing, IOM kind of low because they have had to face kind of the big teams first. But with that being the case, they still have plenty of games left, 2 games to go, and I imagine it will be against that middle pack where they can actually take kind of confidence in the fact they'll be able to get points. But Jerry, at the end of the day, that is, well, a few days away. I mean, a full, 6 days away until we get to that point. For me and you, It's time to say goodbye.
It certainly is, and do come along in 6 days' time because it's going to be a double header like we had yesterday. Today we've got November 21st, November 22nd, the Sunday and the Monday. Lots of very important games. The final games of the group stage to make sure we determine who's got that ever so valuable top spot for an automatic spot towards the LAN at the start of December, and of course making sure that we seed our places for the double elim playoffs. So it just remains for me to thank Cairo, my fantastic co-caster today. I always have a wonderful time whenever you're on hand. Thank Dan and Skyscraper, our brilliant OBS and producer combo for today, the players for putting on such a fantastic show, and of course you guys, the viewers, for sticking around and making this league worthwhile. So thank you all, thank you very much, Lee. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week.